Hi students, in this video we're going to be talking about transitions, and I'm going to strive to keep it really short because I'm simply going to teach you the concept and then you're going to have to perfect the technique and apply it in your own writing. So there's only so much that I can do beyond showing you this concept, and then you'll have to apply it. So as I said in the paramedic method video, one of the things that I really love teaching is transitions and the paramedic method. I think, as I've said, those two things are going to give you very sophisticated writing with the least amount of effort. And at the end of my course evaluations, a lot of students write that transitions really made their writing so much better, and they're so glad that they learned about them. Now, when I say transitions, I know you're probably thinking, yeah, no, I learned transitions in elementary school. I know what those are. And you're probably thinking of these transition words, these words that I could give you a list of transitions to use. All of these transitions, all of them in this nice little list. Oh, there's so many options. The problem is that true transitions, sophisticated transitions, transitions that transform your writing, I just can't give you a list of them. And the reason is because they are tailor-made for each paragraph, for each paper, for each piece of writing that you do. I can't just give you a list and tell you do this. You have to learn how to make transitions, and every transition you write is going to be unique. So I'm going to the Purdue OWL because I feel like they explain it really well. I was teaching this, I think, before they even put up this page on the Purdue OWL, and I feel like my students didn't really believe me that it was a real thing and that it was important. And then once I had another source to kind of back me up, then they kind of were like, oh, okay, this is legit. So I'm going to go use the Purdue OWL to explain this so that you believe me and so that you think that I'm not crazy. Oh, I lost it. There it is. Okay. So this is the writing transitions handout, and I'm just going to read you what it says, because if I tell you to read this on your own, I don't know if you really will. And like I said, this is the best way to transform your writing. So transitions are necessary because they unify your writing. They turn individual sentences and individual paragraphs into cohesive and unified writing, and everything makes sense and it builds. I think a lot of times students put paragraphs together in any old order and they're not building with a purpose to a specific point. And I think that transitions really help to create that sense of urgency and that sense of organization that you're building to a conclusion. Purdue OWL says that instead of treating paragraphs as separate ideas, transitions help readers to understand how paragraphs work together, okay, and do that building to a larger point. Here's the key. In order to produce good transitions, you have to highlight connections between your paragraphs. You're going to reference material in one paragraph to the ones that came before it. And you're going to highlight that information and show the reader how these ideas develop. Some of my students get concerned that maybe this is repetitive, but when you're repeating key ideas to help a reader understand, it doesn't get boring or repetitive. It actually really helps your writing. It helps it flow. It helps the reader understand. It makes it seem really high level and sophisticated. I can't really think of another word other than it just makes it good. You just gotta believe me. So what the Purdue OWL suggests is that you continue one paragraph where another leaves off. And if it's really hard to connect two paragraphs, you're like, I just don't see the connection here, I don't know how to make these two go together, well, that's your answer. Your paragraphs don't go together. They're either in the wrong place or perhaps you've gotten off topic. And it's really hard to make two paragraphs go together when you've strayed from your main idea. So if two paragraphs aren't coming together in the right way, you may want to re-evaluate your organization. Okay? So to do this, you want to pick up key phrases from previous paragraphs and highlight them in the topic sentence of the next paragraph. And this is going to create an obvious progression for readers. And I think the important thing to understand is that usually it only takes a few words to draw these connections and to make these transitions happen. You don't have to have super long transitions. Just picking up a key phrase or a key word and highlighting it and repeating it again is going to be enough. And here's the key. Instead of writing transitions that could connect any paragraph to any other paragraph, you have to write a transition that could only connect one paragraph to this specific paragraph. So I can show you examples, I can tell you theoretically how to do it, but you have to write them on your own. So I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so in other words, I've created this little graphic as a transition formula. So the topic sentence of the paragraph that you're starting is made up of two parts. It's made up of the old information that came from the preceding paragraph. We'll make that yellow. So the last idea that you ended on, plus the new information that you plan to discuss in the new paragraph that follows. Okay, so the last bit of the paragraph that came before it, plus what you're going to talk about in this new paragraph. And that's going to be the topic sentence of the paragraph that you're starting. So what I've got here is an old example from a paper that a student wrote for a completely different class, but I want to just in a really simple way show you, kind of color code the transitions here for you. So the idea that she left off on was screen time leads to obesity. Okay? And then the new thing she wants to discuss is vision problems. So the way that she connects these two ideas is by repeating or highlighting the idea of obesity. In addition to obesity, vision problems are another consequence of excessive technology use. Okay? So you can kind of see how we connected, let me see if I can make a line. We've got obesity connected to our vision problems. Okay? So here we go. Let's do it again. Make sure you really understand it. All right. So here we go. We've got vision issues, and she summarizes that by saying physical issues. Beyond physical issues, we have a psychological impact. Okay? So we're connecting the physical to the emotional behaviors. And this entire paragraph is going to be, you can expect as a reader that this entire paragraph is going to be about the psychological impact of technology. And it is. So she's staying on task, she's staying on topic, and things are building. First she talks about physical implications, now she's talking about emotional implications. And by using these transitions, they're going together very nicely. All right, so she spent some time talking about the bad things, and now she's going to transition into her final idea. So the old ideas are all these negative impacts, and now she's going to talk about positive impacts, and this entire paragraph is going to be about the positive experiences that she's had in using technology with her young daughter. So I hope that's a good example for you to understand how to use transitions in your writing. There are a couple examples on the Purdue OWL page, but they're kind of not connected to anything. They're kind of written, I think, in the noun style, so they're not as dynamic. And I wanted to show you how it worked in actual student writing. So when you're starting out with transitions, my advice to you is to write your entire paper and then go back and add in those transitions after you're done drafting. Then as you become more comfortable with them, you'll find that you're adding in these transitions automatically, and it becomes very natural to you to start making those connections as you're drafting. So I hope that this was helpful to you. If you need extra help in writing transitions, I would recommend that you catch me during office hours, or send me some examples of your writing, and maybe we can Skype and work on adding transitions together.